Before I get into this recap, let me just say that the lack of F's that you guys have for Teen Mom is just incredible. Because back in the day, like in the heyday of the show, if I would be late with a recap, I would have so many like tweets and Instagrams and Facebooks like, Grace, where's the recap? Where's the recap? But this time I didn't get like anything that I saw. So I'm like not even realizing that I haven't recapped the last week's episode of the show. I think you guys are just as over it as I am. So Lord have mercy, that made me laugh so hard. So let's get into the recap, okay, for the week. Spoiler alert, someone at Leah's studio, when she starts up this new pole dancing activity, tries to advertise her as a sugar baby. Oh, Lord have mercy. The poor girl cannot catch a break, it feels like. So at the top of the episode, she goes pole dancing to help rebuild her self esteem after her breakup from the attention hoe Jalen, who used her, in my opinion, just to get his name and face out there. And, I don't blame her. Something like that really has to sting because not only just like the failed relationship with Jalen, but the series of relationships with just like really like crappy guys. Like after a while, you start wondering like, what is happening? What am I doing to attract all these weirdos? Um, so she goes to the studio and she gets to zipping it and doing it, bumping and grinding on that pole. And she did such a great job that I don't believe that it was her first time, to be honest with you. But if it was her first time, very, very talented. She's a natural talent for this. And I heard that pole dancing gives you a really good full body workout, especially core. So good for her on trying something new, fun, and creative. And this segment was a great advertisement for that studio because everybody in that studio was wearing the name of the brand on their like t-shirts and stuff. I'm like, listen, y'all, I hope you negotiated in order to wear these things. Like, you should have been like, oh, if you want me to wear this, then I would like my year subscription to this pole dancing studio free at the very least because they were advertising for her, right? So you better get something out of it. Anyway, now we get over to LA where Cheyenne is trying to put together a new storyline. So she's driving home and she has a panic attack about 5 to 7 minutes away from returning to her home. And so she pulls over and calls Zach well, actually, she calls Zach while she's driving. He tells her to pull over and call an Uber so she can get home and they can worry about the car later. And I'm like, well, you're at home, Zach, so why can't you just go get her? What do you mean? And you said she was like 5 minutes away. So why the hell is she calling an Uber? I'm just so confused, but I digress. Listen, we saw Cheyenne driving around just fine all season up until now. We even saw her driving Jade's daughter around without mentioning anything about having serious anxiety. So I'm not saying that I don't believe her, but I do wish that they were more consistent with this storyline so it's not so jarring because it just feels like it's coming out of the blue. Like the shooting was all but forgotten on the show up until the last episode where they mentioned it, and now this one. So it's as if they ran out of storylines for her, and now they're finally looking into something that was like major that had happened into her in her life. But yeah, I don't love the way that they just like kind of are pushing it in like the last few episodes of this season. But anyway, let's get back to Briana. So now we are in Florida with the DeJesus family. And one thing about Briana is she's always looking to adopt Stella or something like that. Remember, she was pregnant with Stella and she was looking into adoption. And now she's upset about the state of Stella's lack of relationship with Lewis. So she wants to see if Brittany can be a potential adoptive parent for her in case something were to ever happen to Briana. And again, this is another storyline that feels a bit forced. So apparently, Brittany adopting Stella would help get Lewis removed from the birth certificate in some way, which I don't understand because to my understanding or my assumption, the both parents would have to be on board and sign off on a new adoptive parent being added. So I don't really see this as something that Brianna can just do unilaterally, but we'll have to wait and see how that ultimately winds up playing out. Now, I don't remember where these people are, but Jade's storyline is up next, and a big gulp. So, just as a recap, in last week's episode, Jade was really upset with her mom for suggesting that they go play bingo to celebrate her being done with rehab. She felt like her mom was over exaggerating how much she had changed and progressed since like being in treatment, and the whole bingo thing was proof that she's BSing. And so she and Big Gulp Jr. reached out to a counselor over there and said, listen, these are our concerns. Can you help us address them? Can you see she could stay there a little bit longer until she like actually, is properly healed and learns things and gets away from this like gambling addictive behavior. So that's what happened. They went back to Big Gulp and asked her if she would be willing to stay longer, and she freaked out. And I that was to be expected, to be honest with you, because yeah, Jade really did a good job of calling out her mom. She knows her better than anybody, and it was just not meant to be in this moment. And so she's driving in the car with her aunt, and then she calls her dad, bawling about the situation, with no tears coming out of her eyes. And then, as she's crying to her dad, the counselor calls Big Gulp Jr. And she says, everybody, first of all, you all need to calm down. And I'm like, good, thank you. Because Jade is always freaking hysterical. I keep telling you guys this. She has an addiction to stress and to like panic. And that is something that people can have, actually. It's something I learned back in 2016 because I was dealing with something really difficult at the time. And I just was so fixated on it. It was the only thing I thought about every morning, like from sun up until sundown. And I was like, why am I thinking about this so much? It like bothers me so much, but I can't stop thinking about it and working myself up emotionally. And then I learned that you can be addicted to the emotions of stress. They can be addictive, and like it just gets you this like your heart going and whatnot. And I think that that's something that Jade has going on in her life, and I hope that she's able to kind of get a grasp on that at some point. So anyway, the counselor's like, guys, calm down. This is what happened when we talked to Chris. What was her name? Yeah, Big Gulp Christy. And she kind of calmed down as well. And she decided that she is going to stay. Okay. So no need for panicking. Everything is under control. So at this point, Jade, all that bawling was for nothing, because guess what? Things are going to work out. Okay. Now, let's go over to LA, back to Cheyenne. Let's see what's going on with the Floyd family. So she starts looking into hypnotherapy to help heal her anxiety around driving, which, all right. I do want to ask you guys if you've done hypnotherapy and if it's worked for you. I know some people try it for smoking and it seems pretty hit and miss. I've talked about this on my channel sometimes, but I have like a very extreme cat phobia. And I've been thinking about doing hypnotherapy to get over it, but I don't know how effective it is. And some people say, what is it, tapping or EFT or something like that? I don't know if that's more or less effective than hypnotherapy. If you guys are versed in these things, please do let me know what I should do. Anyway, now in Michigan, we get a glimpse of Catelynn and Tyler and what they've got going on. Mind you, at this point, this is the second last episode of the season. How often do we get Amber Portwood this season? I think we saw only one appearance of hers, like one episode of hers. So I wonder how much she got paid for this season, just because she really wasn't she wasn't there. And Amber's not someone who's saving her money, as we all know, right? So I worry about her financially and how that has affected her this year, but we'll have to wait and see, especially now that she's got to pay all this money to visit her son and whatnot since losing custody of him. Anyway, let's get back to Catelynn and Tyler in Michigan, okay? So Catelynn had apparently asked her mom, April, to join her for the Carly visit, but changed her mind after April verbally abused her over an old TikTok going viral of her. Ironically enough, the old TikTok that's going viral of April that's got her so pissed off that she's verbally abusing her daughter Catelynn was a video of her abusing Catelynn as a teenager verbally. Like, girl, are you like no evolution whatsoever? It's insane. I feel horribly for Catelynn. And now I gotta say, you guys, Catelynn was talking to her friend about this, and I remember seeing this friend, like, since OG started and whatnot. So she's been there for a while, but I didn't know how long she'd been a friend of Kate. Like, she is the same girl that was in the clip. Remember the prom dress episode when April's being really terrible to her and stuff? Like, oh my God, that's the same girl. She seems like such a sweetheart. I really, really like her. So that really kind of warmed my heart that she's still around for Catelynn and Tyler and everything. Now, back to Florida, the adoption storyline that Brianna's got going on involving her daughter Stella. So she goes to the park with her mother, her daughters, and her sister, and then she asks her sister if she would be willing to adopt Stella. And listen, she didn't even have to finish her sentence because Brittany was jumping in, talking about those are my daughters, not by blood, but they are spiritually, emotionally my daughter. So absolutely say less. And I thought that was really, really beautiful. I love her love for her nieces. It's so, so, so sweet, so pure, and just so incredible for all of them. Now, Roxanne really pissed me off this episode. She was giving geriatric pick me by the way that she kept on pushing Brianna um, and making excuses for like Lewis, the grown ass deadbeat. Lewis is older than Brianna and he doesn't have his life together, no job, no steady job. Like he'll get little gigs, but he won't have a career, at his grown ass age. He makes no effort to see his daughter or anything. Yet Roxanne wants to make all these excuses and beg Brianna to keep like bending over backwards trying to communicate with him and beg him to step up and be a father for his daughter. No, at a certain point you got to cut it off. It's more painful to have this guy popping up every so often rather than to just like kind of cut and like leave it so that she won't even worry or think or whatever about that. Like, ugh, I really did not like that from her. But I do have to say that, child, what is this photo? My StreamYard does this sometimes where they'll put up the most random picture for no reason when like you already had a different picture up there. So annoying. Anyway, um, I did love the necklace that Roxanne was wearing in that scene, you guys. It was like this green emerald, almost like a choker style necklace, like a really, really delicate thing. So if you know where I can get one, please let me know because it was stunning. I love green. I love emerald. I love anything like that. So it was really, really pretty. So now let's get into Leah and the sugar baby situation. So again, she was at the not the strip club. Why am I thinking the strip club? She was at the pole dancing studio and she was making friends with these people, and the lady who owns it was like, oh, like you were talking about being single and needing to like lift up your spirits and this and that. I'm arranging a mixer night. There's going to be guys there. I'm like, that is so inappropriate and weird. Like, why are you worried about like if she's dating or not? Like that has nothing to do with the pool, girl. Like what? Like I don't know. I find that really weird. I would be uncomfortable. That's one thing I don't like is when people get too familiar with you and start like trying to be like besties or flirt with you when you're just there to do a thing. It's something that's been driving me nuts here in Paris, to be honest with you, like the grocery store. Like sometimes the guys who work at the grocery store will like ask me out, and I'm like, listen, I am just here to buy my tampons and carrots. Leave me alone. Like I'm not trying to date. Or like the guys who work at the gym, and you're like, please, it's not fun. It's not, I don't know. I find it really like, what do you call it? I don't want to say violating, but I find it really inappropriate. Like, please compartmentalize your life. That's it, right? So I don't like the way that that lady called her. Talk about, let's find you a man, girl. You talk about you want to heal yourself. Instead of healing yourself, let's find you a new man. Like, what? F off, child. So then Leah said, oh, now Leah, she's talking to her friends and everything. And she was like, oh, my relationship with Jalen, I knew that like something was off from the very beginning. My intuition told me something was not right. Let's talk about the revisionist history there. It's either revisionist history or plain old stupidity. Because if you really felt that way, Aaliyah, why did you go full steam ahead with this relationship? You guys were looking into buying a house after 4 months. You bought it after 6 months. He met one of your kids on the first night, right? And then he met the other ones after how many weeks? And then he was living with you guys after what, like 2 months or something like that. And then you guys started looking into buying, like, and you're talking about, oh, I knew something was off. My intuition was telling me. Why did you move so quickly? Why did you involve those girls yet again into something so quickly? Like, move slowly if you're not sure. Okay. So, guys, please tell me, do you think she's revising her history to kind of make it sound like, she was wiser than she was, or she wasn't as gullible as she turned out to be? Or is this the truth that she just decided to move forward too quickly to try and force something that just wasn't there? I don't know. I think that she's revising it, to be honest with you guys. She just wants to save face, but to me, it makes her look all the more foolish. But I digress. Now let's get back into the pole dancing, the pole fitness. Guys, can you tell me, is this pole dancing or pole fitness? I don't want to be offensive to people. So the pole teacher, she calls Leah like I told you guys about the thing announcing the men. And so at this point, Leah's just at home after saying yes to the barbecue situation. And then she sees a shocking post on social media using her image, and it says, Leah is a member of this gym. So, if you know any like older men or potential sugar daddies, bring them along. Like as if that is what Leah is looking for. Listen, one thing about I like about Leah is she don't play about her men. Her men have to be successful and financially stable. Okay, this is very important, you guys. It truly is. But I don't think she's necessarily looking for a sugar daddy. So it was really sucky that they went and used her image with this kind of an advertisement as if she's a sugar baby or an escort or something like that, guys. I gasped when I saw it. I was like, ah! No freaking way. This is crazy. But listen, when I saw that, I was like, you know what? Now I don't feel bad because when I initially saw her at the pole dancing studio with those girls, I was like, no offense to those girls, but they look rode hard and hung up wet, like if you know what I mean. And then now that I see that they're out here trolling for sugar daddies and this, that, and the other, I'm like, okay, now I don't feel bad for thinking that. Anyway, let's move on to Cheyenne. So she actually ultimately does the hypnotherapy appointment. We get to watch it go down. Nothing really noteworthy there. So we're quickly going back. I think I can get whiplash with how quickly we're going back to Leah, but alas, here we are. And so at this point, she I don't know how she does it, but she's very talented at always finding a way to turn every moment in her life into a PSA. So she turns the sugar daddy Facebook or Instagram post into a PSA about generational trauma. I'm like, girl, what? What is okay? All right, Leah, whatever. Okay. I don't even try to understand her at this point. I just go, whatever. And so she very smartly decides that she's not going to go to this party anymore because now that they've got it looking like she's trying to be catch a lick or whatever, like she can't go. Like, how weird would that be for her to go and be photographed there? And then someone shows the poster at the same time. No. So now let's go to Catelynn and Tyler. Remember how I told you that she had decided to uninvite her mom from visiting with Carly after her mom had verbally abused her? Well, guess what? Kate, for one reason or another, decided to ultimately invite her mom to the Carly visit. And I'm sorry, but I gotta say, some people truly are gluttons for punishment. Like, are you kidding? Why do people not have boundaries? Why do people not have backbones? Like, it is so wild to watch people consistently allow others to just treat them like complete and utter trash. Like, come on. And these are people who spend so much time and money and therapy and resources to like help them like recognize toxic people and patterns and how to break them. And yet they don't apply the things that they learn. And it's really frustrating to watch. Okay. Anyway, Briana down in Florida, her meeting with the lawyers about like Brittany adopting Stella and then getting to kind of strip Lewis's parental rights that way doesn't turn out the way that she wanted it to. She meets with her lawyers and then they discuss ways to make Brittany an adoptive parent, but they ultimately tell her that the courts have paused that program. And then they say like, it's going to be really difficult, so we don't want to take this on. But then they say that like you can petition to get like the dad off, like, get his rights taken away or whatever on the basis of abandonment, but they don't explore it. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't Briana try to explore that, right? Because I think that Lewis has technically abandoned Stella, but she keeps forcing him to come by, trying to push for him to come by, but it's not something he's doing on his own. So maybe if she kind of just like leaves him alone and lets the counter restart, like they could reach that threshold for him to qualify as abandonment and then like move forward. I do believe that Lewis would be willing to sign off his rights if she asked. She has to start trying to get child support out of him. Like once she starts doing that, he will very happily sign away his rights, I believe. Okay. So if that's something she really wants to do, I do think that she should explore that avenue. But alas, the episode ends there. Guys, what did you think about last week's episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter? So excited to hear what you have to say. So please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.